In a ship, traveling at very high speed, the presence of a new and powerful enemy, different from all the villains that Goku and the Z-Warriors have faced, was approaching from Earth. In the past, several legends and stories of brave warriors ran among the mouths of the people and passed from generation to generation. Saiyans, a race of creatures that in their majority was aimed at dominion over others. Several legends came from these merciless warriors, such as the legendary Super Saiyan, who even made the Emperor of the Universe, Frieza, feel threatened by this prophecy. So he himself was in charge of destroying all the Saiyans, exploding his planet, before they turned against him. However, there were survivors. Saiyans that were out of the planet remained alive. Kakarot, Vegeta, Nappa, and others managed to escape. Goku was training on a quiet afternoon when suddenly an intense sensation took over his body. He felt a powerful presence approaching from Earth, a ki charged with negative energy. But at the same time, the energy that was approaching was curiously calm. This combination left him intrigued and alert. In the days that followed, Goku and the other Z-Warriors began to monitor carefully any sign of an anomaly that confirmed their suspicions. Traveling at an impressive speed, the Saiyan ship was getting closer and closer and closer to Earth, with the mysterious warrior asleep inside. Decades later, Frieza ended up being humiliated and defeated by the warrior who supposedly spoke the prophecy, Son Goku, who carried out the feat of becoming a Super Saiyan. Years passed, other enemies like Cell and Majin Buu emerged, and our heroes defeated them with a lot of sweat and blood, until more years passed in the time of the Earth, until a threat coming from the distant past arose. A very familiar ship was approaching more and more, and the being that was inside it was quite familiar, maybe even too much. It was a Saiyan that not even Vegeta knew. His name was Tarpos. He was tall, strong, and with big hair. Asleep in a deep sleep, he traveled to Earth, because there was the portal to an unknown underworld. That warrior was different from all the other villains who had already been faced, because he kept a terrible secret that could change the fate not only on Earth, but in the whole universe. That unknown Saiyan carried with him a deadly secret, which revealed the true story behind his race. Thousands and thousands of years ago, when the first civilizations were still emerging, there was a being of exorbitant power, a man of incomparable strength. His power was so great that even the Hakaishins, Majin, and demons altogether did not reach his feet. This character was Infinite, one of the primordial creators. It was from him and his brothers that the whole universe gained shape. Infinite was the Lord of Ki, the primordial creator of power. He created the Saiyan race, and his descendants inhabited a planet named Sadala. But over time, the descendants of Infinite became extremely evil and without compassion. Infinite found this behavior strange. He had not put evil in the hearts of his children and wondered where this evil in the hearts of his descendants was coming from. He never found the answer, but he barely knew that an enemy of power similar to his was the one who was causing this terrible behavior in the hearts of the Saiyans. The evil was so great that due to internal conflicts, they ended up destroying their home planet. Being forced to seek a new home, the Saiyans, for having come from the essence of infinity, were very powerful warriors, the beings that had the most potential. They found the planet Planta and took it by force, thus dividing and even overshadowing the other forms of life that lived there. Over time, the Saiyans were becoming more and more bloodthirsty, and all their thoughts were towards evil, with few exceptions of kind individuals who were either dead or lived isolated from the rest of the population. Infinite saw that his creation was terribly corrupted. His descendants used his powers only for evil, and so he decided to destroy all of them. The other primordial creators agreed that unfortunately, even the Saiyans being the species with a lot of potential, they could not remain alive as it was a threat to the other inhabitants of the universe. However, when he was about to exterminate his creation, someone stopped him. A being of black eyes appeared in front of him and said, "You will not destroy what I have perfected." Infinite was scared with that stranger in front of him and said, "Who the hell are you? What the hell are you?" The stranger turned his face, frowning, Me? I am you, but I am your counterpart. In short, I am your worst nightmare, my brother. With an uncomparable force blow that surpassed the weight of a multiverse, that evil being attacked Infinite. The blow caused him to be thrown, tearing the fabric of space and time. For the first time in all his life, Infinite saw blood running from his mouth. Soon he understood who that new mysterious being was. Now I know who you are. You are the manifestation of evil. That's why my creations are so corrupted, because it is you who is somehow influencing evil in your hearts. Just tell me one thing. Where did you come from? That being raised his power and showed a negative key coming from his interior. How stupid you are. As I said, I am your counterpart. When there was creation, necessarily had to exist the other side of the scale to balance the universe. Had to exist the destruction, the good, and also the evil. You are the creator of the key, and I am the creator and the source of the negative key. I was always here, only neither you nor the other primordial creators realized, because I always acted in the shadows, and when you created the Saiyans, I was able to influence them, putting desires and wills and my negative key in them. My name is Potaro. My only will is to destroy and modify everything you created for evil. Soon, I will be the greatest force in this world because your children always prefer my side than yours. Infinite, he saw that everything that existed could be terribly destroyed, or even worse, if he left Potaro alive, the entire universe would perish in endless evil. So, one thing was necessary to be done. Infinite and Potaro fought a battle of unknown limits. At every moment, creation and destruction, good and evil, light and darkness faced each other in a battle, out of the limits of understanding. Time and space did not exist, and for being of the same power, neither of the two primordial Saiyans managed to defeat the other. So, the other primordial creators were forced to interfere in the battle. They used themselves as a seal, and together with Infinite, they sealed Potaro in a new world called Hades. But before being sealed, Potaro cast a curse thousands and thousands of years later. A Saiyan warrior could be able to use his power and continue his evil plan. Infinite interfered in this curse, bringing a prophecy that a pure-hearted Saiyan would be born and would prevent Potaro's warrior from continuing the plan. The primordial creators then managed to imprison Potaro in Hades, but for that, it was necessary a sacrifice. Infinite had to be stuck with him, because the balance of the universe needed to be maintained. With that, thousands and thousands of years passed. The Saiyans did not change their behavior, and later, Frieza destroyed most of them. However, of the survivors, the chosen one of Potaro was alive and was about to arrive on Earth.
A few days later, the sky was suddenly torn by a bright and intense light. The Earthlings looked up, and the Saiyan ship, in a familiar format, crossed the Earth's atmosphere and landed with a thunder in an open field. The dust raised by the impact formed a dense cloud, hiding the ship for a few moments. Slowly, the hull of the ship began to open, releasing the pressurized steam, and from inside it, an imposing figure emerged. The mysterious Saiyan opened his eyes and observed the environment around him, exhibiting a mischievous smile. Now I finally arrived at my destination. Finally, what they told me about this planet must be true. I need to put my plan into practice, he declared, with his voice full of intention and mystery. With an agile movement, he raised the flight, leaving a trail of energy. His destination was clear, the Kami's lookout, where the Kami temple was located. Meanwhile, Piccolo, Goku, Vegeta, and the other warriors felt the intensification of that disturbing key. They looked at the sky, feeling a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. Time seemed to drag on until the intruder finally found his destination. When he landed on the Kami's lookout, Dende, the guardian of the Earth, approached, clearly alarmed. "Who are you? What are you doing in our temple?" Dende asked, trying to keep calm. The Saiyan threw a look of contempt before answering. "You must be the guardian of this planet. Tell me, this is where the Kami temple is?" Before Dende could answer, The warriors quickly arrived, landing behind the stranger. Goku took the lead, his expression of a totally serious and determined face. "We have felt your presence since you entered the planet. Your energy is very strange. Who the hell are you?" The stranger turned slowly, revealing a face that seemed vaguely familiar. "Don't you recognize a brother when you see him? You really don't remember me, Kakaroto?" The words hit the warriors, and like a punch in the stomach, the revelation was even more shocking when the mysterious Saiyan raised his tail, making clear what race he belonged to. Vegeta narrowed his eyes and exclaimed, full of anger and surprise, "Damn, he's also a Saiyan." The warriors immediately prepared for combat, assuming their fighting poses. But to everyone's surprise, the intruder showed no interest in facing them at that moment. Instead, he turned his back, closed his eyes, and began to tell his story with a firm voice. "I have no reason to hide any worms like you. I see that none of you know me, so let me introduce myself. My name is Tarpos, and I am one of the few survivors of the damned Saiyan species. I come from far away, but I'm not here for trivial reasons. Our species has the potential to dominate the universe, to occupy the top. But it seems you preferred to abandon this grandeur, to live a peaceful life on an insignificant planet like this." Tarpos took a step forward, his aura increasing in intensity as he continued, taking steps to face Goku and continuing to say, "I'm here for that. I came to rescue the true essence of the Saiyans. I came to bring my master back, and with him, all the glory that our species has lost, and that traitors like you rejected." The air was full of tension. Goku and the others could not disguise the shock before those words. What the hell it meant to bring your master back? Who was Tarpos, and what would be the impact of his arrival on Earth? A new threat had been revealed, and the Z-Warriors knew they would need to be ready for whatever came next. Tarpos looked deeply into Goku's eyes, and the atmosphere of tension only increased more and more between the two, until suddenly the enemy returns to speak. "I've heard a lot of stories about you. They say you're the most powerful warrior in the universe. I'd like to see if that's really true." In milliseconds, Tarpos prepares a strong blow, hitting Goku's chest, and Goku, who at the same time thrown everything out of the Kami's lookout, and Tarpos stood still, focused, and watching if the Saiyan would resist the attack. All the warriors were speechless when they saw that, but soon a light of ki spread through the sky, and Goku reappeared already going all over the enemy, and the two began to face each other in the middle of the sky. However, it was unbelievable. As much as Goku tried to hit the opponent with a single blow, he could not. Tarpos simply held Goku's fists, or dodged with almost no difficulty. Piccolo and Vegeta looked up together, having a strong fear of what they were seeing. "I've never seen this Saiyan in my life. Even in my time with the army of Frieza, I never knew that this individual existed or was alive. He must have been sent very young to another planet, or then born outside somewhere else." Piccolo took the floor and said, "I think the most important thing now is to prepare ourselves. Goku is not being stopped by him. So far, he has not been able to hit the miserable attack." Goku continued to invest more and more in blows. However, Tarpos thought about it and hits again. A punch right in Kakaroto's stomach, which throws him back again. But Goku this time decided to transform, and in the form of a Super Saiyan 2, comes back to the fight and surprises the enemy with a blow to the chin. This time Tarpos did not keep up with the speed, and when he realized, the blood was already coming out of his mouth. He gave a little laugh, saying, "Great, the little princess finally managed to attack me. Tell me, chosen of infinity, are you not ashamed of being so weak?" Goku focused on the fight, and seeing that it was going to extend, he closed his two fists, increasing his energy and shouting out loud. It was Phase 3. He was using all his strength, and Tarpos's eyes shined. "That's what I wanted to see. Very well, it's time to play a little." It was Phase 3. He was using all his strength, and Tarpos's eyes shined. That's what I wanted to see. Very well. It's time to play a little. The two advanced, one in the direction of the other, now at a more balanced pace, the two interlaced. Tarpos threw thousands of ki bombs in the form of spheres against Goku, who managed to dodge all of them and counterattacked with a burst of energy. But wanting to show his strength, Tarpos put his arms in front of his face and locked the slash, throwing it away, making clear that it was still superior. Neither of them gave up, and the speed of the clash was so great that they went around the planet facing each other, until the enemy spoke again. "Is that all? I expected more from my brother." Goku did not contain his curiosities, so he held Tarpos's foot, spun his body, and hit him against the ground, causing a gigantic crater that exploded. He put his foot on top of Tarpos and said, "Listen here. From the first moment you arrived, you just said nonsense. If you're going to talk nonsense, I think it's better to leave. But first, tell me who you really are." Tarpos, lying on the ground, said, "I and you, somehow we are bound, trapped, to fulfill our miserable destiny."
I was cursed by one of the primordial creators. I carry within me all the evil of the Saiyans, while you were chosen by infinity to be the warrior of pure heart that will prevent me from freeing my master from Hades. We are brothers, not of blood, but of destiny. Tarpos suddenly took his ki, exploding the whole battlefield. He takes Goku from top of him with a lot of violence, throwing him to a mountain that breaks into pieces. The enemy screams as if there was no tomorrow. The sky suddenly changed color several times. A terror took over the entire planet. It was scary. From the Kami's lookout, Piccolo felt that things were not good at all. Finally, Tarpos stopped with that intense movement of energy, and a negative evil began to appear all over his body. Goku got up, seeing a new form in front of his eyes. "You really are strong, but not enough. You showed me your maximum power, now I will show you mine." At such a high speed that it was even unknown, Tarpos grabs Goku's head and takes a walk around an entire continent, rubbing the face of the opponent on the ground. Then he exploded in a black and green sphere right in his chest and throws it up and gives such a precise blow that Goku is thrown straight to the Kami's lookout. He fell and broke the entire ground of time, and his forces began to fade. The warriors saw him all hurt and full of wounds. Tarpos reappeared before everyone, very calm and without showing any tiredness. So he said, "Our time has not yet come, Son Goku. I'll wait for you at Hades, where we will decide once and for all who will be the winning side, the light or the darkness. Do not disappoint me." Tarpos then entered the temple and opened a portal, a black portal. He looked back and said, "If you still want to stop me, Son Goku, I'll be waiting for you." Saiyan then entered the portal and disappeared in front of everyone. Vegeta raised Goku and asks, "But what the hell happened here?" Goku just looked at Krillin and replied, "We need to summon Shenron." Without time for explanations, they gave a Senzu bean to Kakaroto, and the same takes the Dragon Radar with Buma. So everyone looks for the spheres on all sides, and when together at 7, Goku summons Shenron. "Well, if it's not you again, well, say your wishes and I'll do it if it's within my reach." Goku took the lead, saying, "Shenron, what do you know about the primordial creators and about the legend of the infinite Super Saiyan?" At that same time, Shenron closed his face, saying, "How did you find out about this?" Vegeta then says that an unknown and weird Saiyan came to Earth, and he said to be the warrior who would bring a master back to return the true essence of the Saiyans. The dragon then replied, "A long time ago, when there were not even inhabitants on the planets, there were those we call primordial creators, powerful entities that maintain the balance of the universe. Among these beings, there was the creator of what his name was Infinite, he who brought his race. But for the bad luck of the universe, Infinite had a counterpart, a brother, who had the same powers as him, only he was evil and perverse. His name was Potaro. Potaro corrupted the Saiyans and sought to do the same with the other species. Seeing that his brother would destroy the creation, Infinite and the other creators had to seal this monster. They trapped him in Hades, however, Infinite had to be trapped with him to maintain the balance of the universe. It turns out that before being chained for eternity, Potaro cast a curse on the Saiyans. One day, a mutant warrior would be born and would free the monster from Hades, breaking the seal by defeating the 4 sentries guarding the prison. If this warrior manages to free Potaro, it will be the end of all existence. Everyone was baffled by that, not believing what they had heard. Piccolo soon shouted, "So that portal he passed must lead to this prison where this monster is imprisoned. If he has already gained access to the world where Potaro is, you must go after him as soon as possible. I can open the portal, but my power is limited and I can only open once, and only one person can pass." Goku soon asked Shaman to open the portal, and the dragon fulfilled the desire of the Saiyan. The gap was opened in the Kami Temple, and the dragon said goodbye, giving some instructions. When any of you arrive at Hades, know that it is divided into 4 large parts. Must prevent the enemy from breaking the 4 seals. Thus, Shaman disappeared, and due to the circumstances, the warriors chose Goku to go after Tarpos, to prevent the miserable from breaking the 4 seals and releasing the monster chained by the primordial creators in Hades. Goku went through the portal the dragon god was able to create. He should be fast. Shenron only had power to keep the portal open for more or less a day. When Saiyan passed through the portal, he came across a totally new and strange world. There was fire everywhere, and even the sky resembled blood. He saw that there was a great path, so he followed him, lost and without any idea how to find Tarpos. But it was then that a male voice, strong and very scary, spoke to him. "Who dares to invade my hell?" On Earth, Piccolo and the others were watching the portal. Everyone was very apprehensive, with a certain fear of what could happen to Goku, since he would have gone alone. If he didn't come back after a day before the gap closes, he should be judged as dead. On the other hand, Goku remained calm. He stared straight ahead and tried to feel some presence near there. It didn't take long and an arrow catching fire was launched in the direction of Saiyan. Goku was fast enough to perceive the object approaching and deviated without great difficulty. He remained calm and said, "I have no reason to hide my identity. My name is Son Goku, a warrior from the planet Earth." Suddenly, the owner of the mysterious voice emerged from the shadows, saying, "I see you're telling the truth, because I could not see a mistake in your soul. Nice to meet you. My name is Ragnarok. I'm the sentry from the first hell. Now tell me, Earth Warrior, what does someone like you do around here? Believe me, but a very complicated situation is happening. A few minutes ago, an enemy, a servant of the monster that is chained under these 4 hells, passed here. He plans to free Potaro, to restart his empire of evil. I came after him to prevent the monster from being freed, and to end it once and for all." Ragnarok looked well into Goku's eyes, saying,
I have existed since the oldest times. I and my other sentry brothers were raised by the primordial creators to guard the Hades and prevent the destruction of the universe. Before they disappeared, they really said that one day a person like you would appear telling this same story. They said to explain something to you. It's the following, Son Goku. After me, there are 3 other sentries guarding the 3 other hells. To pass through here, you will have to defeat us in a fight. If you win, you will receive the 4 stones of infinity. Each one of us keep 1 of them. When you join the 4, you will receive the power to lock Potaro in Hades, and he will never be freed again. But if you fail to defeat us, this will prove that you are not the chosen one. Then me and my brothers will consume your soul, and you will not be able to return to your world. So Goku, are you ready to accept this challenge? Goku made his fighting pose and says, "My name is Son Goku, but also Kakaroto." In a blink of an eye, Goku teleports to the next sentry and tries to hit a terrible blow. However, Ragnarok blocks the attack, so his fists collided and a shockwave spread through all 4 corners of the abyss. They faced each other, and the sentry says, "That's it, Kakaroto? Let's see if you're really good." Ragnarok suddenly pulled a golden sword and with an orange-red key and uses it against Goku, who quickly turned into Super Saiyan 2 and moved away from the attack, leaving the mortal behind. Goku exploded his power and threw an energy slash as soon as he stabilized. However, the sentry laughed at that and used the sword to cut the slash in the middle and then threw a lightning bolt in Goku's direction, which was violently hit and thrown back. A cloud of smoke rose and the sentry laughed, saying, "My goodness, but that's it, Son Goku? I thought the Chosen One would give me at least some headache, but it seems that it is as easy to defeat as a fly." The dust has fallen, and the Guardian looked to see how Goku was, but he was surprised. The Saiyan was not there. He looks everywhere, but suddenly he hears a voice talking behind him. "Be careful with what your eyes see. They may be mistaken." Goku reappeared behind him, and when he turned around, the Saiyan exploded a dense sphere of concentrated energy. The attack exploded, throwing the sentry away. For the first time, Ragnarok would have been surprised, and laughing, he said, "Wow, I didn't expect that." "Very well, Kakaroto. What good are you hiding from me?" The two prepared to fight and made their fighting poses again. "Listen, I was a little curious about this story of Stones of Infinity. What the hell is this?" The sentry said absolutely nothing, and without warning, he left with everything, and the two began to face each other, transferring the heaviest blows. That began to affect the structure of First Hell. The shock waves in the form of wind spread all over the place, until Goku and the sentry shocked their fists again, which caused earthquakes and downpours all over the place. However, from afar, someone very smart and astute observed. It was Targos. Looking at the fight of the two, he thought, "That's right, my brother, keep going down this path. The curse, it can't be completed without your help." "How naive you are. I'm Goku." The impact of the shock between Goku and Ragnarok was brutal. The ground was cracking under his feet, and the shock waves formed cyclones of pure energy that spread throughout the First Hell. Goku gritted his teeth, increasing his power to the maximum, while his golden hair fluttered amidst the storm of ki. Ragnarok, in turn, smiled sadistically, feeling enthusiastic about the battle. With a quick move, the sentry raised his golden sword and cut the air with precision. Launching a flaming energy blade against Goku, Saiyan deviated for a while, feeling the scorching heat pass by his face. He counterattacked by firing a short-range Kamehameha, but Ragnarok hit him with a simple blow of his sword, sending the blue streak back to its creator. Without time to deviate, Goku crossed his arms and received the frontal explosion. His body was launched against a mountain of obsidian, causing the structure to crumble over him. The demonic mountain, in fact, was a volcano, and Saiyan faced the challenge of getting out of there unharmed. But before the dust could settle, he emerged from the rubble, ready to resume the fight. "Not bad, Earth Warrior, but you're still far from defeating me." Ragnarok fled, sharpening his gaze. He concentrated his orange-red ki on his sword, and the energy was so intense that the air around it trembled as if it were being consumed by the flames of hell. Goku realized he had to give everything he had. It wasn't time for jokes. He was still the first sentry, and there were 3 more to defeat, so Goku closed his fists. He concentrated his power to the maximum in a deafening shriek of war. His muscles hid, his aura became even more ferocious, and his hair shone even more intensely. He was using all the power of Super Saiyan 3. Ragnarok gave his eyes for a moment, but soon his sadistic expression returned. "Now yes, Kakaroto! Show me your true power. I can't wait to see where you can go." The two collided again, and the intensity of the shock made the entire hell shake. Goku, now much faster, hit the sentry with a brutal sequence of punches and kicks, each leaving cracks in the armor of the demonic warrior. But Ragnarok was not an ordinary opponent. He turned his sword, creating a storm of blades of cutting energy that surrounded Goku from all sides. The Saiyan crossed his arms to protect himself, but the cuts were deep, and soon his body was covered with wounds. The blood ran down his chest, but he couldn't stop. With desperate movement, he fired an explosion of ki to dissipate the attacks, and before Ragnarok could react, he teleported directly above him. "This time, you won't escape," shouted Goku, concentrating a huge sphere of bright blue energy in his hands. A gigantic figure of a golden dragon emerged from the sphere, fleeing furiously before firing towards the sentry. Ragnarok tried to raise his sword to block, but the force of the attack was overwhelming. The dragon crossed his body, tearing apart his armor and pouring black blood all over the floor of hell.
However, before he could celebrate, Goku felt a suffocating tightness in his throat. Even seriously injured, Ragnarok still had the strength to hold the Saiyan in the air. Not bad, Earth Warrior, but it's not enough yet. With a roar of anger, he crushed Goku against the ground, creating a massive crater. The Saiyan spat blood, feeling his body fail. But he couldn't give up. He rose slowly, with his eyes shining with determination. Goku took a deep breath, gathered the remaining forces, and launched himself again against Ragnarok. The Demon Warrior ran, ready to finish off the Saiyan once and for all. But before he could disperse his blow, Goku crossed his defense with a sequence of ferocious attacks. Devastating punches and kicks tore the sentry's armor. And in the final blow, Goku gathered all his power. "I can't lose this fight. It would be a shame for me. I'm going to end you and find out what the hell are these stones of infinity. Ragnarok, this is your end." Goku, with his last efforts, concentrated his ki and, launching himself against the enemy, launched a new attack. The dragon's fist shone intensely, and a new golden dragon emerged, bigger and fiercer than before. Ragnarok saw that monster and faced it, feeling great fear. The beast roared, consuming the sentry completely, which screamed in agony as it was reduced to nothing. The resulting explosion shook the entire first hell, cracking its structure to the abysses. When the dust settled, Goku was standing, choking, covered in wounds and blood, but victorious. Ragnarok was still breathing, but it was over. His golden armor was totally destroyed. "So," the sentry said, "it looks like you got the warrior of the earth. It was great to fight you. Now I have to keep my promise." The sentry opened his chest, and at the same time a radiant light emerged. It was one of the 4 stones of infinity, and it shone intensely. Goku grabbed it. Knowing that the journey was just beginning, he looked at the stone, which was golden. Suddenly, he felt something different when he touched the object. It was as if he already knew that stone.
The dragon's fist. The two collided with such force that the hell itself trembled, and Azael opened his eyes to feel the impact of Goku's punch go through his chest. The guardian spat blood, his eyes slowly losing their shine before his body began to disintegrate into pure energy. The second infinity stone floated in the air and gently landed in Goku's hands. He looked at her, choking, knowing that the journey was not over yet. But now, with more power in his hands, he was ready to face the next challenges. Hell number 2 trembled around him, signaling that the battle had left deep scars in that dark kingdom. But Goku, despite the fatigue and pain, was determined to move on. When he touched the second stone, he felt a sense of purity. It was as if he felt good, a feeling of optimism and purification. After defeating the guardian of Hell number 2, a huge door opened in front of Goku. It was the path that would lead to the third hell, where the Saiyan would face his penultimate challenge. As he passed through the door, the warrior was suddenly surprised by a jet of blue fire. He quickly protects himself and observes how the structures of that underworld were. So, Goku decided to walk until he found the guardian. With great haste, Saiyan runs to accelerate the process until finally the being appears in front of him. It was a mysterious man with hoods and demonic wings. "It's been centuries since the mortal has reached the third hell. Who the hell are you? And what are you disturbing the order in my world?" Goku explained who he was and what he was doing there. The guardian was curious and said, "Very well. I'm Goku. Until today, no one has been able to pass from the third hell and reach the last. Maybe today that changes, and you can pass." Goku turned into a Super Saiyan 3, raising his aura and causing a windstorm around him. But the sentry stood still, just watching until he said, "I know you're eager to face me and try to defeat me. But I'm sorry, my young man. This won't be possible. I won't need to fight you. My stone is the stone of wisdom, and to take it from me, you'll have to solve a riddle and finally choose one of the 4 books that are in my hand. If you can do that, you can take my stone and go down to the last hell." The silence of the third hell was different from anything Goku had ever felt, even with blue mods burning on the walls and distant screams echoing endlessly. What weighed there the most was the presence of the Guardian. The hooded figure, with open wings and eyes that shone like embers, held the 4 books firmly. He didn't move. He just watched.
Goku felt that he was not an ordinary enemy. There it was not enough to have power. He would need something that is not conquered in battle. The Guardian then repeated with a firm voice, "Solve the riddle and choose one of the 4 books. If you choose right, the Stone of Wisdom will be yours. But if you make a mistake, well, there will be no second chance." Goku took a deep breath. He was used to facing challenges with his fists, but this was different. A mind test, not muscles. The riddle echoed in the room as if it were whispered by 1,000 voices. What is more valuable than gold but can be lost with a word? What grows when it is divided but dies if forced? Goku rubbed his head. He was never good with riddles, but something in that question seemed closer to the heart than the reason. As he thought, the books began to shine slightly. Each one had a different color: red, blue, green, and gray. The Guardian said nothing, just waited, as if he were analyzing each warrior's reaction. Goku closed his eyes and tried to remember what he had learned from his masters, but it was not enough to choose the right book. It was necessary to understand the true value of wisdom. And at that moment, a doubt took over his mind. What if the real test was not in the books? Goku slowly opened his eyes and faced the 4 books in the hands of the Guardian. Something in them seemed wrong. It was not the shine, nor the color. It was the feeling. He could feel that there was power in each one, but it was not a common power, like that of a dragon sphere or a powerful enemy. It was a kind of cold, deceitful energy, as if each book was a trap waiting for a touch. He took a step forward, and the Guardian spoke for the first time since the riddle. "Beware, Goku. Long before you got here believing you knew the answer, everyone chose, and everyone fell." Goku stopped. His hands were tingling, not of energy, but of doubt. He knew that it was a test of wisdom, but how do you test wisdom if everything around you seems false? He looked at the books again. The red seemed to pulsate, like an accelerated heart. The blue calmed the eyes, almost hypnotizing. The green remembered the nature of his planet, and the gray. The gray was strange, without grace, but also without apparent danger. Which one to choose? The question of the riddle was still spinning in his mind. Something more valuable than gold, which grows when it is divided and dies if forced. He repeated the words in a low voice, trying to feel more than understand. That's when he remembered a sentence from his grandfather, even when he was little. Wisdom is not in knowing everything, but in knowing when not to do anything. That hit the bottom. Goku then looked at the books, and for the first time he thought not to choose any. The silence became heavier. Even the flames around seemed to diminish, as if hell itself was waiting for Goku's decision. He closed his fists and breathed deep. Not to choose, and against everything he knew. Since childhood, he was trained to act, fight, decide. But there, in the heart of the third hell, he felt that acting without thinking was exactly what the Guardian wanted. "You haven't chosen yet? Are you afraid of making a mistake?" said the hooded being with a slight smile hidden in the shadows. Goku took a step forward without taking his eyes off the Guardian and saying, "No, I'm thinking. There's something wrong with these books. They have too much energy, as if they were alive." The Guardian did not answer. He just kept watching. Goku then approached the books, feeling the energy emanating from them. It was not wisdom, it was ambition, pride, desire for victory, everything that made a warrior lose his calm. What grows when it is divided but dies if forced? Suddenly, the answer shone in his mind like a ray. Trust. That was it. The answer to the riddle was trust. And he knew, none of those books deserved his trust. Goku took a step back and raised his voice. I'm not going to choose any book. If this test is about wisdom, then my answer is not to make a wrong choice, just to try to win. The Guardian, for the first time, opened his eyes. The environment began to tremble. The flames became higher. Goku kept his posture, even though he knew not if he had got it right or not, but deep down he felt that it was the right decision. The ground of the third hell began to open in bright cracks, and a strong wind blew around Goku. The Guardian's wings opened completely. Even so, the Saiyan did not retreat. Goku remained firm, facing the creature with the calm of those who have already faced gods and monsters. You refuse the choice. This has never happened before. All the others came in search of the Stone of Wisdom to reach the last hell. But you surprised me, said the Guardian, with a voice that now echoed like thunder. Then, the 4 books began to burn alone, one by one, until they turned gray in the air. The flames rose to the sky, and for a moment, everything was white. Slowly, Goku raised his arms to protect himself, but he did not feel pain, nor heat. When he lowered his arms, the scenery had changed. He was now facing an altar made of black stone, and on it rested the Stone of Wisdom. Small, bluish, and pulsing with a soft light, different from any energy he has ever felt. The Guardian approached slowly. It no longer seemed threatening. On the contrary, there was respect in his eyes. The true wisdom, Goku, is in recognizing the danger of certain choices, and in knowing how to retreat when everyone expects you to advance. You did not win by force, you won by knowing how to stop. Goku smiled, a sincere smile, the kind that only he knew how to give, then extended his hand and took the stone. As soon as Goku touched the third stone of infinity, a wave of energy enveloped him like a warm breeze. His hair was still in the shape of Super Saiyan 3, but the energy of the transformation seemed to calm down, as if the stone itself had lowered the guard.
For the first time in all that journey through hell, he felt peace. The stone floated to the center of his chest and merged with it, creating an intense glow that illuminated the entire third hell. The flames ceased, the screams echoing on the walls disappeared, everything was silent. The Guardian, now kneeling before Goku, raised his head and spoke with reverence. You are worthy. You can go to the last hell, the heart of the abyss. Goku looked ahead, where a new door was formed, made of black mirrors that reflected his image in several versions: child, teenager, adult, in battles, smiling and crying. Each step he took, more reflections emerged, as if the corridor had no end. But suddenly, a voice echoed, coming from everywhere. Are you ready to face the truth? Goku stopped, looked around, but saw no one. The voice continued, here, in the heart of the abyss, there are no external enemies. Your biggest challenge will be to face yourself. With an accelerated, more determined heart, Goku replied, I'm ready. At that moment, the mirrors began to break, revealing a room lit by a soft and bluish light. In the center, there was a figure sitting on his back with hair similar to Goku's. When he turned around, he revealed to be an exact copy of him, but with cold eyes and a challenging smile. We finally meet. I am you, without the ties of compassion and doubt. I am what you could be if you only followed the Force. Goku felt a shiver, but he kept his posture. The silence was broken only by the sound of his breaths. The tension in the air was palpable, as if time itself had stopped to observe that meeting. Goku's reflection, with cold eyes and a challenging smile, took the first step. You always kept yourself, always had mercy on your enemies, and that made you weak. Goku remained calm, answering,
Compassion is not weakness. It is what makes me strong. Without warning, the reflection advanced, unleashing a punch that Goku barely managed to block. The force of the blow pushed him back, but he remained firm. The battle began, with quick exchanges of blows and almost interceptable movements. Each reflex attack was full of anger and contempt, while Goku fought with serenity and determination. The fight was not only physical, but also emotional. Goku felt that to win, he needed to understand and accept that dark part of himself. He needed to prove that the true strength came from the balance between power and heart. The battle between Goku and his dark version remained intense. Each exchange was not only a demonstration of strength, but also an internal battle between light and darkness. The dark reflection of Goku, fed by anger and ambition, tried to dominate, while Goku sought to maintain balance and compassion. In a moment of clarity, Goku realized that he could not win only with physical strength. He needed to accept that dark part of himself, recognizing that it was part of who he was. With this acceptance, Goku began to transform negative energy into positive, weakening his dark reflection. The room began to shine with an intense light, and the reflection, now weaker, looked at Goku with respect. "You did not win by destroying me, but by accepting me," he said, before disappearing. Goku, now stronger and at peace with himself, was ready to face the next challenge. Goku felt the lightness that he had never experienced before. After a few moments, the room began to transform, the walls dissolving into particles of light floating around him. In the place of the room, a vast field illuminated by a starry sky emerged, where each star seemed to pulse with its own energy. In the center of this field, a new door emerged, made of pure light, inviting Goku to advance. He took a deep breath, feeling renewed, and took the first step towards the door. As he crossed it, he was enveloped by a warm and welcoming energy, different from everything he had ever felt. On the other side, he found himself in a serene place where a familiar figure was waiting for him. Your grandfather, Gohan. Surprised and emotional, Goku ran to hug him. Gohan smiled and said, "You have come a long way, my grandson, but even more to learn."
Goku feeling ready to face what came next. Goku and his grandfather Gohan walked side by side through a serene field, where the soft breeze carried the aroma of unknown flowers. As they walked, his grandfather shared stories of wisdom and courage, reminding Goku of the importance of keeping his heart pure even in the face of the greatest adversities. Suddenly, the ground began to darken, and a dense energy took over the environment. Gohan stopped and looked to the horizon, where a figure covered the energy of the shadows. "He arrived," said his grandfather with a serious tone. The figure approached, revealing itself as the final guardian of Hell, a being of impressive appearance and eyes that shone like embers. "Goku, to achieve complete redemption, you must face the last challenge, the test of the spirit," declared the guardian. Goku felt ready for what was to come. The guardian extended his hand and a sphere of light emerged between them, growing until it completely enveloped them. Inside the sphere, Goku saw himself in a familiar setting, the battlefield where he faced his greatest enemies. But this time, he was alone, without allies, and the voices of his loved ones echoed far away, remembering their responsibilities and the love that united them. The challenge was not physical, but emotional, demanding that Goku face his deepest fears and reaffirm his commitment to justice and compassion. With a firm and clear mind, Goku advanced, determined to overcome the final test and achieve true inner peace. Inside the sphere of light, Goku saw himself transported to a familiar battlefield where the echoes of his past struggles echoed around him. In front of him, known figures emerged: Frieza, Cell, and other enemies that he will face throughout his journey. But something was different. They were not just shadows of the past, but representations of their own fears and doubts. Each opponent symbolized an internal weakness that Goku needed to overcome. Frieza represented his anger with Chiba, Cell his insecurity, and so on. The battle that followed was not just physical. Goku fought not to destroy, but to understand and accept these parts of himself. With each confrontation, he gained clarity and inner strength, until finally the figures disappeared, leaving him alone, but at peace. The sphere of light dissipated, and Goku returned to the serene field, where the final guardian awaited him with a smile of approval. You faced your demons and came out victorious. Now, are you ready to receive the last stone of the infinite? With reverence, Goku extended his hand and accepted the stone, feeling a pure and harmonious energy flow throughout his being. He had completed his journey through hell not just as a stronger warrior, but as a truly enlightened being. However, suddenly a figure appeared behind him saying, "Very well, Son Goku. Thank you very much for collecting the 4 stones of the infinite. Now the prophecy will be fulfilled." Goku looked back, already recognizing the voice, and facing the enemy. Tarpos then appeared behind Goku, already saying with a tone of devotion, "Thank you very much, Son Goku. Thank you for doing all the work for me. Now the prophecy will finally be fulfilled." Goku turned around, a little surprised to see the villain again. He said, "What the hell do you mean by that?" "Well, Son Goku, I thought you would be a little smarter. The stones of the infinite that you collected. Why don't you take a good look at them?" The Saiyajin soon understood, perhaps, the stones that he collected defeating the Century's guardians would be pieces to form the key that freed Potaro from prison. Tarpos used his power and stole the stones of the infinite, saying, "I couldn't go alone through the guardians because my heart is perverse and evil. I would need some idiot with a pure heart like you to collect the stones, and then use them to free my master." Goku tried to stop him, but Tarpos used the same mysterious transformation and moved the Saiyajin, throwing him far away. Goku has already fallen bleeding on the floor of the last hell, and the villain uses the 4 stones of the infinite, starting the process to free his master. Goku, fallen and powerless, suddenly heard a voice speak very loud in his head. "I'm Goku, the warrior of the prophecy. Listen well to what I'm going to tell you." He scared, asking who was talking to him, and was soon answered, "I am the one everyone calls infinite. Below this hell, I'm chained and holding my evil brother. Listen, you can't allow Tarpos to free Potaro. If that happens, it will be the end of all existence, and perhaps not only of our universe." Goku asked what he should do, and the voice said, "The stones of the infinite, they were created by me, and only someone with a pure heart can use them to their maximum potential. Call the 4 back to yourself and melt them all in your chest." After that, the voice stopped talking and the Saiyajin stood up one last time and concentrates, trying to attract the 4 objects to himself. The stones began to shine and escaped from Tarpos's hands, going straight to Goku. The villain was terribly furious and shouted, "Your curse! Return these things now or I will crush you!" But at the same time, the 4 stones of the infinite sank into Goku's chest, and there was an explosion of intense light. It was so strong that not even the best eyes could see what was happening. Goku's whole body began to burn, and he shouted loudly, and his power enveloped all the structures of the 4 hells, reaching the earth and causing a huge earthquake. But then, Goku stopped shouting, and Tarpos could not believe what he was seeing. It was there, in front of him, Goku, in his new and most perfect transformation, the Super Saiyan, being infinite. "No, it can't be. How in the hell did you do that?" Goku didn't answer anything. He just took a deep breath and at an impressive speed arrived in front of Tarpos and applying such a strong blow to the stomach that he flew away and hit the volcano of Fourth Hell. He left the volcano. There was hot lava all over his body, but he soon said, "Do you think you're the only one with cards in the sleeve? You are very mistaken, Son Goku." The villain bowed his head forward and shouted, causing the same level of destruction as Goku, and soon revealed his maximum transformation, the Super Saiyan 20,000. Son Goku, I want you to know my most perfect transformation. This is the Super Saiyan 20,000, a form that uses the power of 20,000 violent and terribly powerful souls. It is a power granted by my master to me, a demonic power. As much as that was terribly scary, Goku did not show even a little fear, and in an uncalculable time delay, the two clashed their fists. The impact was so strong that it was equal to a big bang.
The ground trembled with extreme violence. The fangs cut the earth like deep scars, while a wave of energy tore everything around. Tarpos, now at the height of his power as Super Saiyan 20,000, channeled the hate of 20,000 violent souls in his fists. His eyes shone with a purple light, insane and thirsty for destruction. Goku, wrapped in a golden and white aura that looked like liquid light, moved with grace and precision. Each punch of his left a trail of pure energy in the air. They did not speak a word. There was no more space for threats or provocations. It was war. Every time they clashed, shockwaves exploded everywhere, vaporizing everything hundreds of meters away. Tarpos tried to grab Goku by the neck and threw him against a mountain of burning bones, but Goku stopped in the air, turned, and counterattacked with a burst of energy so concentrated that it opened a tunnel of light in the direction of the villain. Tarpos crossed the lightning with a black, unbroken comet, and with a roar that made hell itself tremble, launched a sequence of blows that tore the ground like giant blades. Goku deviated by little. Each movement of him seemed guided by divine instinct. And then, the two launched against each other again, this time with the intention of ending everything. What was to come was not just a fight, it was the kind of confrontation that would mark eternity. The auras of Goku and Tarpos began to expand uncontrollably. As energetic confestations were about to collide, the space around them seemed to break apart. Time itself seemed to hesitate in the face of such force. Tarpos, with a grotesque roar, concentrated all his demonic energy in his hands and created a pulsating black sphere, larger than a mountain, called Infernal Judgment. It rotated quickly, absorbing what was left around it, as if it were made of pure emptiness. Without wasting time, he launched the direct attack against Goku. The Saiyan looked at the sphere coming in his direction. His infinite eyes shone with a serene brightness, almost calm. He joined his palms and, in a single movement, he pulled the power of the 4 hidden stones in his chest, forming a golden and silver energy wave that rang like the sound of 1,000 bells. The explosion of infinity. Goku's new attack collided with the internal judgment in the center of the battlefield, and at that moment, the world stopped. A flare spread through all 4 hells, even burning forgotten heavens and dissolving the lost souls that inhabited the darkest corners. The explosion was so powerful that it pushed both warriors away, even against their will. Goku fell on his knees, choking, with his chest burning inside. Tarpos was also injured, with part of his face and arm scratched, but laughing. "You really are strong, Son Goku, but I am the chosen one of chaos. I was shaped in pain, forged in destruction, and evil will always overcome good because in the end is always destruction." Tarpos screamed as the lava from the volcanoes began to rise, as if hell was rebelling with such violence. Goku got up, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, and responded firmly. "And I was shaped in hope and forged in the promise to protect all existence." Then, both returned to launch one against the other, as 2 transdestined titans destroy or save the destiny of everything that exists. The punches exchanged now were not just physical impacts, but true dimensional blows. Each blow of Tarpos tore the air and opened unstable portals to other realities, while Goku's attacks created cracks in the fabric of time-space itself, forcing the universe to reconstitute itself quickly so as not to fall apart. It was as if the two were fighting inside a storm of the end of the world. Tarpos, with his body wrapped in black flames and purple lightning, ran like a wild animal, trying to crush Goku with heavy and brutal blows. One of them hit the hero's shoulder, causing him to cross a wall of infernal obsidian and sink into a lake of burning blood. But Goku did not stop. He emerged from there like a golden ray of light, his aura burning demonic blood around and causing the lake to evaporate in seconds. Then he appeared above Tarpos and launched a rain of small orbs of energy that, when they touched the ground, exploded like mini-suns. Tarpos was hit hard, but even so, with a grotesque roar, he absorbed part of that energy and cast a putrid and corrosive slash against Goku. The slash hit the Saiyan's chest, almost extinguishing the light of the stones hidden in his chest, but Goku tightened his fists, resisting. He closed his teeth, and with a speed that even Tarpos's eyes could not keep up with, he emerged behind him and unleashed a thunderous kick that threw him beyond the infernal clouds. Tarpos screamed in pain and fury, but regained control in the air, flying with such force that the sky cracked again. And when he came back, he brought with him a forbidden technique, called the Rain of Vengeful Souls. Thousands of specters arose around Goku, all screaming, all thirsty for their flesh, each one with the strength of millenniary warriors. It was a trap made to consume even the purest of hearts. The specters of the Rain of Vengeful Souls fell on Goku like an army of mad shadows, each one tearing the air with nails made of cursed energy and screams echoing memories of pain. They tried to grab him, pull him down, as if they wanted to drag him into an abyss from which no light would escape. Goku closed his eyes for a second, felt each soul touch his body, felt the cold of pain, of anguish, of death. But then something changed. Goku's chest shone intensely. The four stones of infinity pulsed at the same time, and a silent explosion of pure light came out of his body, purifying everything around him. The specters, when they touched that light, began to scream and disappear, freed from their curse. Tarpos watched that curiously, with his eyes filled with hatred. "You are killing my master's soldiers. They were chosen. You do not have that right." But before he could approach, Goku extended his hand, and with a simple gesture, created a luminous barrier that made Tarpos stop in the air, as if he had hit a wall of divine energy. Goku looked at him seriously and said, "These souls do not belong to you. They are free now." Tarpos's anger exploded. His body began to swell. His veins jumped like black snakes, and his muscles multiplied with a grotesque sound. He lost part of his human form, turning into a partially demonic creature. The earth below them began to scream. The earth itself cried at the presence of this abomination. "Now, Son Goku, you will know the true hell." But Goku, even in the face of that terrifying scene, did not retreat. He just planted his feet on the destroyed ground and responded firmly, "So, show me."
What came next was indescribable. Tarpos dived towards Goku at such an absurd speed that the air caught fire around him. His claws hit the ground where Goku was, exploding a crater so deep that it seemed to reach the core of hell. But Goku was no longer there. He had moved so fast that not even his own energy around him followed him immediately. He emerged from behind the creature and, with a cry of ancestral war, channeled the absolute power of the Stones of Infinity in a single blow, the final fist of eternity. It was more than a physical blow. His fist shone in all the colors of the universe, and by hitting Tarpos right in the center of the chest, an expansive wave swept everything. Time stopped. Space curved. The structures of hell roared one by one like dominoes. The enemy screamed, but his cry was muffled by the light. He began to disfigure, first the demon body, then the perverse essence, and finally, even the connection with his master Potaro was broken. While his body fluttered in the air, his eyes found Goku's one last time, and there was no more anger, only surprise. Tarpos disappeared without leaving a trace. Goku fell on his knees, exhausted, with his body covered in wounds and smoke coming out of his chest where the stones now seemed asleep. The sky of hell began to open, revealing a soft celestial light. Soon, Goku returned to normal. His hair fell, and he reflects on everything that happened in those worlds. Finally, Tarpos would have to be stopped before he freed Potaro from prison. The Saiyan breathed a sigh of relief, having accomplished his mission.